Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Travis Told You, October 27th, 2025. Few days away. It is Halloween week. We are a few days away from the greatest day of the year, Halloween, Hallows Eve. I guess Hallows Eve, is that technically the term, right? They have the All Hallows Eve, but it's not like Christmas Eve, but who knows? It's a great time. That's my favorite day of the year. It feels a little odd this year because we're doing the extra live stream next week. So usually it's like Halloween and then the stream happens. So it's feeling odd. Next year's going to be the same thing because Halloween's on a Saturday. So the next couple days or next couple days, next couple years is going to be great. Obviously, I think I've said this before with Halloween. We usually just let the girls take it off anyways at school if they want to, right? Sometimes they want to go in. But so far, I think the past couple years after Halloween, we say, hey, you want to stay or you want to go? They're picking to stay. Either candy, hang out. We kind of do like an addendum. Usually the weekend, a couple days after, is a couple other Halloween movies that we haven't watched. We're going to be watching. So, which we're going to be doing a lot, I think, this year because there's a lot of stuff. We're a busy bunch. You know, that's the thing with the 5 kids now. Lots of activities. Gwen does dance. What is it right now? Monday, Tuesday, Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday. Sometimes they're combined, but still, there's like 5 days out of the week. Logan's in Kung Fu, and then has Girl Guides, and then Ellie just does one, but, you know, she's 4 years old now. Next year, she's in kindergarten. She'll do more. It's always something, right? So I feel like, and schedules, podcasting, life. So I feel like this is definitely with the family, the least amount of Halloween stuff I've watched this year, which is kind of a bummer, but we'll make up for it. We have actually, I guess, just been spamming. Lots of times we try to watch all of Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark, so we're in the middle of that. And it's a good time. And then November, then Christmas, just crazy. But I hope everyone is doing well. I am here for today at least. Wednesday is a TBD. I put that will be on the GeekVerse schedule this week that drops on Patreon because I am off Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Monday for my day job. I booked that off. Fucking Mr. Patzer, because I usually book off a few days. I always make sure Halloween's booked off the day before that, but I also book off the day after the 24-hour stream, like the Monday after, and then a few days so I can prep. We did move the stream, so now I have a random Monday off for no reason. I can't take the Monday off for the actual extra life. So, but whatever. It's all good. So, we got that going on. Obviously, November 8th, 24 hours, extra life. That's going to be tons of time, and a fun time. Everything's getting announced. Events, etc. As usual, I added to the schedule this week because even there's some that came up where all the events right now, I think the events that are locked in are like the events that are on the schedule are happening, you know, unless something really catastrophic happens, or catastrophic. I don't know what catastrophic means, but the events are happening. It's just a question of, I'd say the tournament and the trivia, those times are locked in. The rest of the stuff kind of gets like, oh, I'll be there, or I might have to step out of this time, etc. So as always, subject to change, but we will do said things, and we will do the stretch goals if we unlock them. This Thursday, we'll go over a full preview. We're going to do GeekVerse 677. It's going to be myself, Dilmus, and Taylor Field, because obviously Kirkland's still in Japan until the stream. So, we'll be going over some Halloween fun stuff, what we've been watching, an extra life full preview, lots of good stuff. And feed lots of good things. Listen to not It Chapter, I guess. Welcome to Derry, episode 1. That's out now, our review of that. And today, talking Spider-Man 4 about... I didn't have this on the rundown. I don't think we've ever talked about this in any spectrum because I thought, I don't know. But then the guy that Matson Thompson, that's a tongue twister, but he had said some comments about it that I was like, that's just kind of... The weird way he phrased it is kind of weird that maybe there is a possibility, right? So we'll talk about, obviously we've kind of fantasy, like, oh, wouldn't that be amazing? But I'll talk about why I think he said what he said and what it could mean. And hopefully we could get that. I'm going to review Frankenstein and Shelby Oaks. I got to see that on the weekend, did a double header. There'll be no spoilers, so don't worry about that. A little box office breakdown. I got a question from Mike from last episode have to do, so I'll do that. But I will say, I guess, there might be a little bit of a break. So I'll say for Travis Told You, this Wednesday is a TBD. Next Monday will be a no, because that I'm off, and that I definitely know, because Wednesday some other stuff's happening where Emily and twins might be out of the house, etc. So it's like, okay, maybe there's time. But if not, or I'll do the night one. But little iffy. Monday, no. So there might be a chance I'm not doing a Travis Told You till November 5th. So just a programming note. You'll hear lots from me. Got a GV episode. Got side quest tonight with Dylan. Predator Badlands is coming up. That's exciting. Shining retrospective will be released for the public, and lots of stuff on Patreon. So I would appreciate you going over there. And yeah, as Travis told you, gonna go for about an hour as usual. Talk about some stuff. Talk about some things. But yeah, very exciting. Halloween, man. It's a good time. I just watched people on the stairs. But you know what? I'm not going to talk about that because we'll talk about that on Thursday. So, okay, let me get these exact comments. Obviously, Spider-Man 4, and this is specifically with Tobey, Kirsten Dunst, Sam Raimi, right? Years ago, when Twitter was not even like a thing, but I guess it was online. I think people have shown this tweet before where Sony announced like the date, because Spider-Man 3 comes out in 2007, and I think, let me see if I can find Spider-Man 4 Tobey tweet. I doubt anything's going to come out now, but let's see if I can. Okay, no, maybe it is here. Sony Pictures. Yeah, this is crazy. So March, because I feel like I got on Twitter around 2012. Yeah, I got Twitter because I don't know why, just because I had to do with wrestling. I don't know, like, obviously that's why, but I feel like there's something in particular. I think it was like funny enough, even though he doesn't really use that much. It might be. Shout out to the Gimmick, our wrestling show. I feel like it was around 2000. No, I think it was 2011. Yeah, I think it was around the time. It was before that, but I just feel it was around the time when CM Punk was about to leave WWE, and I wanted to talk about it. This is at a point where none of my friends. Yeah, that's definitely it. None of my friends no longer watch wrestling. My first follows and followers were all just wrestling related, and that's what it was. Where I had no friends to talk about wrestling anymore. Comic books were starting to pop off. I had people, they were still watching those, but wrestling, I used to, maybe I indoctrinated some of my friends, but they were interested. Like, I feel like all my friends, the GeekVerse friends, will say that they put up with it a little bit, but they go, oh, okay, I understand a bit of wrestling. I might watch. Obviously, they've watched a few things with wrestling for me, and we did some streams. But that was the day where I had no one to talk about it, so I got that. This is like 2011, 2012. And then look at this tweet from, so this is 2009 March. Sony, like the Sony official account, put this out here. I'll pull it up for the visuals. Look at this. Sony Pictures to release Spider-Man 4 May 6th, 2011. That's crazy. Tweet out March 12th, 2009, 9:53, which is kind of nuts, right? To think about Twitter at that time. But obviously, lots of those things have those origins where they were around for a while and then got a falling, right? And my God, look at my fucking hair. I haven't said what my costume is. Maybe I have, but if not, I'll show it on Thursday. It's nothing crazy, but I've been growing the hair out for it a little bit. Can't wait to get it cut before the stream. It's just been, and I've want to get some length, but it's just like the sides are weird. I don't know. So Extra Life, I'll be looking fly. But so obviously, a lot of this has definitely sparked after No Way Home. Tobey comes back. That's a big thing. I think it was everyone's like, oh, imagine if we get the 3 Spider-Men together. That happens. What can we do? Blah, blah. And I remember there being rumors from other scoopers being like, oh, they're talking to Emma. They're talking to Andrew. They're talking to Tobey. The rumors I think the Emma thing was always going to be tied to what happens with Andrew. And we've talked about before where it's all like lower tier scoopers, all C tier scoopers. But multiple scoopers had said that. Sounded like some of the rumors were a combination of them trying to get him into that Sony universe that was going on that's now dead. So thank God he didn't do that. Would have another dead universe. Maybe he could have revived it, but still. That, or the idea was they brought him in, kind of pitched some ideas, and either he wanted some, much like the solo stuff, it sounded not creative control, but it sounded like they were just, let's make a movie. And he was like, well, let's make a movie with some care, and let's get a scriptwriter of this, degree. Let's get a director of this degree. And who knows, right? Could just be someone putting it out there. I know people have joked. I think there was some proof of Andrew Garfield having some sort of like fan burner account. So people said, oh, like, again, could someone just text someone and say, oh, this would happen? Sure. But let's just say that was it, right? And that to me is believable with that's the problem sometimes with the narratives, even if they're not true. If they're believable enough, that's why you're going to run with them, right? Because look at the stuff Sony was putting out. To me, I'm not saying they had to. Oh, geez, I'll talk about that maybe in a second. I'm not saying they had to go get Martin Scorsese and Christopher Nolan, but look at what they did with Spider-Verse. And even then, you could argue Room Fleischer, okay, like start off some talent, but I just feel like they did not. that they just felt like cash-ins, right? As we've talked about before, Hollywood's always trying to cash in, but there's always a level degree of, is there a fine balance between we're trying to make money and then investing in the art in this, or it's just trying to make money? And that's where the Sony universe with Venom, Morbius, Craven, which I still haven't seen, that's what it ended up feeling like, right? So I can believe that. And there's been talks. I don't think Tobey's ever been asked, but I know Dunst has. I know Sam Raimi has. So what they've and they just said, yeah, that'd be great. And Dunst said, yeah, that'd be great, right? And it just kind of feels like it's nothing. And even this, which I talked about at the beginning, Mattson Thompson, if you don't know him, he's run a bunch of stuff. He wrote, I think recently that's come out, is he did Terminator Dark Fate, which was really good. He was an uncredited writer on the Batman. I don't remember how that went down. He just talked about this in his threads where he said like he didn't find out till the day of the trailer and was kind of heartbroken, right? But luckily, at least he's insinuated on part 2, he's a co-writer with Matt Reeves and he's going to get credit this time. So he did write some of the Batman. He's going to write some of the Batman part 2. Not sure how much of a, but the writing partners. So he had before said that he had a pitch or an idea or yet and that's where it became kind of fan stuff like, well, you got this writer who, has some level of success. You got Kirsten, you got Sam Raimi, all saying, yeah, we do it. Like, that'd be so awesome if it happened, right? That was very much the fan stuff. But he did this kind of Q&A, which he pops up on Twitter. I don't think I even follow him, but I see this stuff. And so the quote was, someone asked him, I can't remember what the set of the question. I'm not sure if this article has it here or not. Let's see. Not really. So I don't know what the setup was, but his answer was slow and steady wins the race. There won't be anything to say about that for a long time, if ever, because it involves a lot of people, politics, and things going right and have nothing to do with me. But I haven't gotten a no yet. So there's 2 versions of this, right? There's a version where he's emailed or spoke to a Sony exec, like at a party. Hey, I got this idea. And like, oh, cool, great. And that's it, right? And that could be his, like, oh, they haven't said no. And I apologize if my Wi-Fi seems weird. I'm seeming like I'm moving slow. So I'm sorry if there's any audio or video issues. Not sure what's going on there. But there's a version of that where it's some embellishment of, I haven't gotten a no. So it's just somebody type away pitching it and no one's saying no, right? I feel like my hope, and everybody has a different spectrum, and this guy's much more successful than me, that's fine. But I would hope somebody on his level would probably say, don't say something in this ilk if it is just, I bumped into somebody, I sent an email, and just because, like, if you send a text, a Facebook message, an email, you ask someone out on a date, and you haven't heard back in 6 months, that's a no. That's not like, well, I haven't got a no yet. No, that's a no. That means it's dead. It's down the water. Not happening, right? So I'm gonna say he's been in the business long enough. He's been around some bigger projects. He knows somewhat what he's doing here. So for me, that means he had to talk to, like, let's say it's not just a quick, hey, I'd like to, let's say it is somebody, let's say he was at Sony, because they do this all the time, right? If they work with people, they either say, hey, well, pitch us on some stuff, like Kevin Smith talks about the story, like they went to him with WB, and I think it was like Superman and Beetlejuice, so it's like they wanted him to work on an IP, doing something, right? So I could see he has a level of success. What do you want to work on, Mattson Thompson, right? Like what interests you? And there's a version of that where he pitches this idea, and maybe there's someone in the room with some pull or connect Spider-Man goes, you know what? That's not bad. Let me inquire, right? Now, as we just saw with the fucking Ben Solo thing, it could be that, and there is more rumors to that. I think I might bring them up again on Thursday because I would love to get Dylan's take on that, because where he's with Star Wars and just a few more things with Taylor. But the idea of that was script, pitch, working title, working with people to problem solve the script, all this stuff. It gives it to Alan Berman and Bob Iger, and this report was, Alan took like longer than usual to say no, or just to read it, and it felt like Bob Iger maybe said no politically because he wants to be behind Alan because he's a replacement, all this stuff, right? So it's the same way where someone could believe in Thompson's script, but then bring it to anybody and go, you know what, let's not do this, right? So it could just be that. It also could be, to try to be positive, is, hey, we're doing Spider-Verse. We're going to finish that up. We're, because there's also rumors going around that Holland is not in Doomsday, but Maguire is, right? Whether that's a post-credit, whether that's an actual scene just to set something up, or he has a character arc, who knows? That could be a version 2 of maybe he dies or gets captured, and that brings Holland into the adventure, right? You would think the whole world multiverse being at risk would already bring in Tom Holland, but, sometimes you still need a thread, right? Like, same thing, Hulk crashing down into Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum. No matter what, Doctor Strange was going to help out when Thanos invaded, but it gave a thread to the story to make it more, just flow a lot better, right? So that's where I'm trying to take the hopeful approach, because the bad approach is they pitch it, yeah, it's a great idea, let me talk, and it goes nowhere, just in the ether, fairy dust, right? The good approach and hopeful approach is, hey, he's in Doomsday. We know he's in Secret Wars. He's in Secret Wars. Let's cap that off. And same thing too. Maybe it's we don't know the fate of that character, so we don't want to promise anything. Like, let's say they want to have Tobey Maguire have like a big Iron Man moment, etc. Which I don't think it's warranted. Like, and I know that that's where I'm usually not on Sony's side with these things, right? Because obviously MCU lately has been rocky, but they have a far better. They just lap Sony with the track record, right, of what they've been doing the past couple of years. But in the defense of Sony, and they are working together, but I would say, hey, if you want a big, like, if they have any interest in doing Spider-Man 4, if they don't, yeah, kill them off, big moment, cool. But if they have the slightest interest, which I don't know why they wouldn't, if they have the slightest interest, or maybe an idea of an interest, like, we might be interested in this in 3 years, to take it off the table. Now, obviously, characters die all the time. It's never gone. But if you want that exact version and he dies, and then you just do Spider-Man 4, that seems odd, right? You could always place it before Doomsday as like a prequel. You could always say, oh, this is like another what if of what if he didn't go to the MCU, but it's the same Tobey. It gets a little muddled, right? It's the same way of, I didn't love it. And I'm not saying this is the reason the Flash bombed or anything, but I think one thing that at least hurt a lot of the Batman stuff was, Keaton was great. I like the story of him being kind of very Gandalf the White type of Batman, where he's like god tier, and the idea of like, oh, he kind of saved Gotham. So I don't mind that idea of what this is a what if Batman kind of getting this happy ending. But the way it wasn't exactly Michael Keaton's Batman from '89 Returns felt a little odd. It's like, why? Like, you feel more invested then, right? Even if he was gonna die, it's like, well, that's fine. Like, I don't think he's doing more, but that's the same thing. They didn't want to do more, hence cancellation of Batgirl. It does get messy and confusing with the multiverse and all the stuff, but that's why, if you have any idea and you guys are a partnership, I'd say, hey, do whatever you want, but let's not. If you want a big sacrifice, cool, make it one of your characters. Don't make it Tobey Maguire, right? Because why should they bend the knee? Because obviously, Marvel's MCU's helped them. They have a good partnership. They share money. They share creative stuff. I get it, right? You might not want to puff up your chest like, well, you don't do that, but you still got to stand your ground and say, hey, that's great that you would want this big moment, but we could have a potential, whether it's just a one-off movie, which I think would be very successful. I think No Way Home proved that. I think this is a legacy sequel. Like, the money's there. It's not like Keaton with Flash that bombed or Indiana Jones that bombed. I think obviously with Jackman, with Garfield, with Maguire, on the Marvel side, they have proof of this could work, especially like budgetary reasoning well. This could really work out for us. I think it'd be more than fair to say we're not going to have you kill off one of our IPs just to have a big moment here. Especially, it's different. Marvel does this. They got Fantastic Four hopefully cooking, doing more. They got X-Men starting up. They might reboot some of these characters. They got a whole thing, right? Sony, especially if they keep working with MCU, well, their Tom Holland's still tied to that, so that's happening right now. Miles Morales and Spider-Verse, they've said that they're not going to do any live, even Feige said that, they're not doing anything live action with the character until that's done. They've killed the Sony universe, which, most of that didn't work, but the Venom movies made money and produced. So it's almost like that would be a natural step of, you finish Spider-Verse, Tom Holland's doing the MCU stuff, the Venom stuff's done, what do you do? Well, let's go to do a legacy sequel before we start a new universe, X, Y, and Z. You can't just, hey, we're going to do, another, at least they don't want to, another Spider-Man, right? And I guess could do Garfield. The same thing kind of applies there, but I just feel it would feel odd for them just to have that dying off, right? But again, they get told that hey, the ball is in Feige company, in Feige's company's court. They can do whatever they want. And if he's alive, great, we'll come back to this. If it's not, then sorry, Mattson, that's not going to happen. I don't think the money isn't killing him off. I think there's lots of other characters, and I think there's tons of money. Whatever the pitch is, whether it is like the current Ultimate Spider-Man run where it's Mary Jane and Peter have kids and he's, and I obviously wouldn't be like that, right? But I mean, like that concept of Peter Parker, Mary Jane with kids older, I think that's a good idea because you're not going to do that. I don't think with Andrew, if he were to come back, I don't think you're going to do that with Tom Holland Spider-Man currently. I think you get Peter Parker, you get Tobey, get Kristen back, That's obviously you need those two. You need Kirsten as well. I don't want some fucking shit where MJ died in between movies. No, that to me would honestly hurt. Like, it's a package deal. Even though I don't think they're like one of the greatest couples ever in comic book history, or even the chemistry's there. But to me, it is a package deal. And I know he's pitching Raimi. That's the other thing. And again, too, with Raimi, like, why couldn't you like, like obviously Doctor Strange is there, but they always go with Hollywood. What have you done for me lately? That was a success. So I wouldn't go, hey, the last time he worked with Marvel stuff, it was a success. I don't see why they wouldn't get Sam back. To me, it's not a deal breaker for the public. I think it's a deal breaker for me for a lot of success. Don't get me wrong. If they said, hey, for whatever reason, we got Tobey and Kirsten back, but we couldn't get Sam back, or he didn't want to do it, whether it's money or creative, I go, well, that sucks a lot. Now I'm still excited for those two characters, but I'm going to be a lot more pessimistic on the movie coming out, right? But you get Sam back, then we're good to go. You get a hot young actor or someone new to play one of the villains, that works out. You can cast those kids. You don't have to do them as babies. They could be teenagers. You can get a good actor or actress to play one of those children. Like, it's there. I think no matter what is a success. I wouldn't say it's $1 billion movie. It could be. I think it could be with some of the legacy and the kind of nostalgia people have for that. But with these characters, as long as it's budgeted again appropriately, I think it would be a success. Varying degrees of it, right? And that is before we get trailers, promotion, all that stuff, right? So, and again, maybe that's the idea too, that they don't even know if they want to have two Spider-Man movies out. I think that can work because I think No Way Home kind of set that up perfectly, of Tom Holland as the Marvel MCU Spider-Verse or Spider-Man, and then Tobey was over here doing his own adventures. Like, I don't think that to me is less confusing than for the public audience or the general audience, more than the Batman Robert Pattinson Batman thing, right? And also, like, not saying it's impossible, Gunn and everybody can make that, if they do it right, they can make that easy as well. As here's a Batman there and here's a Batman there, same thing. This Batman's by himself, this Batman's with Superman, great. As long as you market, and that's the way No Way Home did as a story. I think they did a good job of fleshing that out and showing, okay, you can go down this route. So that's the only reason I talked about it today, is because it was interesting that he says it's not a no yet. And there could be tons of things. We hear of projects. Look at Ben Solo. That was worked on for 2 years and then didn't hear about it till now. Also, people keep pushing. And, I hope that happens. I'm not, I don't know, hopeful it will. And same thing here. This is like a great idea. I think the Ben Solo one, if we're comparing, right? I could see some argument of the not, oh, he's dead. That's a dumb argument. I could see arguments. I know people say, oh, Soderbergh and his movies, like, he a lot of times comes on time and under budget. We don't know. We really don't know. It could have been a situation we talked about on the episode with Taylor Cantina, where it's like, hey, you guys want this? We had rumors of Adam Driver was wanting a lot more money on F4, because apparently he did audition or like was in talks for Reed Richards, and that happened, or that supposedly happened, but the idea is they couldn't meet on money. It could be that too, like, hey, we know they're not going to budge on X, Y, and Z. Let's not do this. Or it could just be, hey, the sequels made a lot of money, but creatively that was a mess. Fan-wise, that was a mess. We don't want to go back that route. We want to just go to completely something new. I disagree with all that, but I can at least see someone in the room. You could make an argument against the Ben Solo project, right? We have all these analytics and all these reasons why we think it could fail or not do well. The Spider-Man one, like, I don't really see it. Kirsten Dunst is, I can't say bigger star than ever, but she's in more attuned projects than ever. Tobey's about the same. Tobey's stock's definitely up though, because No Way Home, and No Way Home is the proof right there. Sam Raimi's directed multiple successful things, so I don't know what the only argument would be. Oh, two Spider-Man films, and I think, like I said, No Way Home kind of set that up perfectly, right? Of how you could do that. So that's for me one of these things where obviously these companies, you don't want them to be greedy, but they are. And I just look at Spider-Man 4 and go, like, money is sitting right there, like it's so again, as long as the budget's not crazy, I think it's a layup. Even Garfield's, to me, spend all the budget on, let's say not the Venom ones, but Morbius, Craven, and any production for the El Muerto script, everything. Take all that and put that into one movie. It probably makes all those more than those. Oh, Madam Web, fuck! It probably makes all of them combined. The Adam Garfield one, right? Because you can argue Garfield, he's bigger than he was than during Spider-Man, right? And if you get Stone back, she's bigger than she was. So, but they're both just kind of sitting on easy money, and I don't want to say that as like a creative and someone that wants the script to be great, but my perfect world is script is great and then this also happens, right? Like they make the money, but I don't know, it's odd, it's very odd about it. And yes, Finn McClay, he says everybody called Zack Snyder's Justice League a pipe dream. Absolutely, and I was in that camp as well. I did not think that was going to happen. I think for multiple reasons. I will always say that I wonder in a multi-universe that, in a better universe, that COVID didn't happen, because obviously lots of things happened. We lost a lot of people. Lots of people got sick. Lots of people lost their businesses. I think politically, especially my Canada, got fucked from COVID, because it was just like, I felt like we got so, the line got drawn and it's hard to get back there, right? But that did play a lot into it, Clay, right? Of COVID happened, theater shut down. What could we do? Well, let's give the budget towards this. I'm not saying it would never happen, but that helped propel it if it did. And that's why sometimes things could happen. That's why if I was Sony, I'd say don't kill off Tobey. What if Sony has because didn't they do, no, Warner Bros. Minecraft. Sony, what do they have? Let me look at we're gonna search Box Office Mojo in a second, but what do they have this year? I thought they had, obviously, and I know people memed on them for like, they fucking sold what is it? They sold K-pop Demon Hunters. You just sometimes never know, right? Like I think now companies will pull back, because you look at Demon Slayer, we're going to talk about Chainsaw Man, K-pop Demon Hunter. I think K-pop, anime, that type of genre, or those countries bringing in product, it's showing, and we talked about this with Demon Slayer, there's people that grew up on anime that have the fucking money to spend now, and they will go to the theaters to see this stuff, right? So that's where I don't, when Sony, people meme on Sony for K-pop Demon Hunters, you sometimes never know. I bet there's a good chance that comes on the theater and it doesn't do anything, because those other ones are established IPs, right? The fact is, it grew on Netflix, started to grow, and then put in theaters, and they made money for it, right? So that's something where I'm not going to meme on Sony because they missed out. Like, sure, do they wish they had that back? I imagine so, but like, okay, so like Demon Slayer, already 5. So, okay, Lilo and Stitch, Disney, Minecraft, Warner Brothers, Jurassic is Universal. I think How to Train Your Dragon's also Universal, right? I know it's not Sony, but F1, that was Warner Brothers and Apple. Superman is Warner Brothers. And sorry, I'm reading the top box office movies for 2025. Fantastic Four is Disney. Mission Impossible is that's Paramount. Conjuring, that's Warner Brothers. Captain America: Brave New World is Marvel, Disney. Thunderbolts, Disney. Sinners, Warner Brothers. Final Destination: Bloodlines, that's Warner Brothers. Weapons, that was Warner Brothers. The Bad Guys, now that's who I wasn't know who's made about, but like what are we at now? We're at 17th movie worldwide this year, and I haven't got to a Sony movie yet. That is also, let me just confirm, it says distributed by Universal. Okay, so Bad Guys doesn't count. Snow White, Disney. One Battle After Another, that's Warner Brothers. Elio, Disney. Freaker Fighter, Disney. 28 Years Later, I think that might be Sony, right? I think that was, and that sucks for me because I love that movie and I want more of them, but Sony. So it took me to get to the 22nd movie for the top 2025 to hit a Sony movie. What if that happens the next year? Obviously, they got their hands in a bunch of other stuff in PlayStation and tech, and they also came out yesterday and say, hey, we're not buying Warner Brothers, which is great, But what happens if that and they got Spider-Man, they want that happening, and you got Spider-Verse. But let's just say, other than a couple of these Spider projects, let's say they keep having a couple bad years. To me, it's like, again, easy money, Garfield right there. And fuck what they say. To me, like, if I was Sony, if that was part of the deal, and they're like, like, I would say, hey, times are tough for us. We're not having hits. We're making these movies. And if MCU is like, well, we're going to pull out, like, I think, don't get me wrong. The movies that Tom Holland could do, like, let's say, Brand New Day comes out, partnership is over. Do I think those movies are going to be better off? No, absolutely not. But I feel like once you get through Doomsday and Secret Wars, I already felt that a little bit before. I felt you've kind of done everything you could do. Not everything, but I just mean that because you have Spider-Man, the X-Men, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, but in that big era, I feel like you've done a lot with Spider-Man that you could say, hey, MCU, we got a lot of stars. Now, granted, though, playing the tape back, I did say that when I thought some of these other MCU characters were going to be bigger than they were, right? So maybe I'd walk that back a little bit. But as Sony, I would just say, like, hey, you're actively hurting our company. We want to stick in business with you and help each other. like, let us make these movies. Doesn't matter. And like, look how long it took to make the Tom Holland one, right? That was 2019 or 2021. So it's going to be 5 years by the time that comes out, half a decade. You could say, hey, we could have made another Spider-Man movie in between. And I'm not saying it's for sure going to take long to get to Spider-Man 5, but if Holland wants a break, he wants to do something else, then it's like, hey, we can cook over here with this other stuff. So I just, that's where I'm never always on Sony's side when it comes to Marvel stuff. But with this, for business, I'd say, let us fucking make our money. Like they own the IP. Whatever you want to say, the movies, they own the Spider-Man IP. What are we supposed to do with that? Marvel sold back in the day, so not much you can do. Let's see here. Some questions here. Clay says, if Dunst couldn't make it happen, is a recast out of the question? Is it out of the question? No, nothing's out of the question. For personal, I would say yes. It's like I talked about a couple weeks ago when they did the Mummy 3 and Rachel Weisz couldn't come back. So they got, I can't remember who the actress was to replace her. Chemistry wasn't there. It just didn't feel right because she had to have chemistry with her brother, and then Brendan Fraser's her love interest, and even the son. That was a new actor, but still, it just didn't work out on all the chemistry reads. Just didn't work out for the mother, son, brother, sister, husband, wife. It just was off. In that point, I would just go a different route. I'd make him single, because you make that, right, of him, and that would suck, right? But like single dad as Spider-Man, that's gonna fucking blow, right? We're all about Spider-Man having a tough life. Imagine Spider-Man being a single dad. We're trying to be a hero and bounce his kid, late to pick up his kid. People think he's a shit dad. The kid not understanding, thinking his dad is, doesn't love him or her, and keeps an arm at distance and think there's some non-connection, but really it's just him trying to save the day, missing dance recitals. Like, it's cheesy, like easy pickup stuff, but like that was what Spider-Man trilogy was, right? There's a lot of easy, cheesy pickup stuff, which I enjoyed, which we miss of some of the MCU stuff, right? So I would say that, or you do a new love interest, whether that is you get fucking Bryce Dallas Howard back, you do the Black Cat, because that was the plan, right? Because apparently Spider-Man 4, Anne Hathaway was supposed to play Black Cat, but then it changed into Vulture's daughter, which didn't sound great, but still. That's what I'd say, Clay, is new love interest, or do just a single dad thing. Superman Mite says, I would personally rather have a proper ending Andrew's story instead of epilogue to Tobey's. Obviously, I'm going to do the Iron Man, why not both? But if I had to if I had to choose, now I am in the camp of Andrew. Before I wouldn't have been, but like I said before, Andrew Garfield to me, like with the Amazing's help that's there, but to me the No Way Home solidified him as the best Spider-Man Peter Parker. And when No Way Home before it came out, I had him ranked last, to be honest. But there was just something in that movie that's the most I've ever felt Spider-Man appear in the comic books right there. And, obviously there's some darker stuff that's going on, but that happens sometimes with Peter Parker, right? So I think I'm with you, Mike. If you were to say, hey, you can't have both, what would you rather? I do think Andrew, like, getting that proper ending would be great, because you can end Tobey's story in a Secret Wars, in a Spider-Man. Even right now, you could just say that him and MJ ended up together and it's happy, right? With his ending on such a downer, story-wise, it would be better to close that off. I just think it sounds to me with Garfield, it'd be hard. Before, I thought it was harder to get Tobey in the room, not Andrew, but now I think post No Way Home, I think it is, because I think Andrew had such a great experience with No Way Home, and working on that creative with them, I think he wants to get that right and it be right, not just cash in. I could be wrong, but I feel like Tobey's kind of down to cash in. He's kind of down, like, that check's big enough. Yeah, sure, I'll do this. So, but I do kind of agree in that sense. So, let's see here. I will, until we get to the box office, I want to answer this because Mike, you did send this in, and I want to get to it on Wednesday, but I didn't. I don't know if on another show. He did ask, because we're talking about Frankenstein and Shelby Oaks and box office in a second. Again, there'll be no spoilers, so obviously if you don't like those, then you can tune out. But if you're interested, I'm not going to spoil any big things. Frankenstein, you kind of know the story, right? But Mike said a quick little epilogue to the horror movie Rushmore, which, if you didn't listen, a couple of weeks ago I made a Rushmore. Not going to tell you who's on it. Go listen to it. But this person was not on it. He says, if we include TV in the calculation, do you think Ryan Murphy earns himself a spot in there? Which I should have done a non-TV one, because obviously, to spoil, Mike Flanagan did make it on there. But I even said that on newscast. It'd be interesting if I took that out, if Flanagan would be there. I think it'd be a tougher case. Probably not, right? But I think the reason he's not there, and it's kind of the same thing as Flanagan, because I think he represents two, and I guess here's another spoiler. James Wan's on the list. I spoiled half the list, but that everyone knew that half the list, right? I think they're both ways where Ryan Murphy is kind of like James Wan, where he had a huge, at least for TV wise, right? He had a huge impact on TV and streaming with American Horror Story, Crime Story. But like with those ones, American Horror Story, American Horror Stories, there's another one like Scream Queens. There's tons of stuff that through the zeitgeist, through popularity, like made a big deal, right? So he has that working for him. I think he also did a lot of stuff that for even like FX at the time was stuff you wouldn't see in almost like a big mainstream sort of way, right? It'd be more a niche show where American Horror got very popular, but there's a lot of kinks and a lot of sexism and or just sexisms, not sexism like fuck you male, like no, like just lots of sexy stuff going on, right? Lots of stuff going on that you don't see on your regular TV, which he did that with Nip Tuck. Obviously took a little break with Glee because you can't do that in that show. At least I don't think he did. I didn't watch Glee, but I think the problem is though, so it's kind of similar to Mike Flanagan, where he definitely put a thumbprint, and with James Wan, where lots of multiple franchises. That to me is just that's where Flanagan is. Sorry, the better version of it. Even though I'm sure Ryan Murphy has way more money and can sell a show just like that because it's Ryan Murphy, absolutely right. But I think he did hit more of a mainstream audience eventually, which is still good for horror. He definitely raised up horror to be talked about more in that decade because we kind of talked about in the early 2000s. I feel like it was having some lulls, right? Other than the odd movie or show, or not even show, right? But even horror shows that felt like they kind of went away or was non-existent. It felt like those were miniseries, right? Obviously you had Twin Peaks, but they felt like they were exception to the rule. Like every couple, maybe half a decade, you get a horror show that worked. Where Ryan Murphy made multiple, but he also just showed that look how big this can get with American Horror Story, and then multiple people tried to do that, right? So, like you could say, like people would take a shot at Stranger Things because of that. Because horror TV can be very tough to do. We talked about the It Show, right, and even Alien Earth. For me, it is just the quality of it. There, I love the very first season of American Horror Story. That's pretty perfect. I think it's like a 9.5, maybe. I think there's some, but even then, I could probably itch it to a 10. Love that. And there's American Horror Story, many great concepts, right? And even we talked about this a couple weeks ago with Monster. That to me is his best work. That is a one of the best seasons of television, just quality wise. I know it's controversial, and I get why, and I get why people don't like it. I think the Ed Gein one is more, and even the brothers, but the Ed Gein one is more of an example of the negativity that people say about Dahmer is really there in Ed Gein. Don't get me wrong. I think there's some people that are actively like reviewing it in a non-biased way, but there's a lot of people that just don't like that content, and I get it, right? Osgood Perkins talked about the way his dad was portrayed, and I understand that. The same way with the Dahmer stuff, there's probably some stuff in there, and we know there was stuff that people took exception to, right? I'm saying you cut that out, take all noise away, just show wise. To me, I think it's fantastic, but I think that whether it is obviously hand some stuff off and produce it, but other things that he was in charge of, just kind of go downhill, right? That's always the problem with most American Horror Story. It looks great, it's shot great, has a great concept, great actors, but that ending or the last few episodes always falls apart. Like not always, but like 8 out of 10 times it's gonna fall apart and not stick the landing. I think the first 3 seasons he did stick the landing. I think obviously 2 and 3 to, or sorry, no, I'd say 3 and 4. 2, I did not like Asylum. That was not good. But I think he got better at it and his team got better at it. But then there was way too much of it down the line. So yeah, I think it's just quality wise, Mike. But like I could see someone make an argument. Like obviously it was just strictly TV, then yes. Maybe if it was also just strictly like 2010 to 2019, you could also maybe make an argument for it as well, right? But I think these last 5 years, Glee fell off a cliff massively as season 1. Okay, did he lead that show too? I can't remember. I'm not even saying like a mean way. I just mean like I remember we talked about with Monsters. He did that. He did that with Nip Tuck the last season. He was barely involved. I didn't watch it. Did he leave? Did he kind of like get it a big hit and then go? I didn't. I don't know. So let me know, Mike. Sorry, should have said water break. My bad. Yeah. So let's talk about box office. I'll probably leave it off quickly because I got about 20 minutes here. I'll give 10 each. Might do box office very quickly because I didn't do it last week, but nothing too surprising with it going on. So saw Frankenstein, saw Shelby Oaks. I'll start with Frankenstein first. The theater was like kind of halfway full. I went to look at the box office. Just to bring up that. Let's see. He was involved throughout. Okay, well there you go. Just gets a one and done for the quality of Glee there. So, but Saw them, did a doubleheader. Frankenstein about half full, which is good. Would love to know what they make because obviously Netflix doesn't release those numbers. Because I went to look at the box office to see what it did, and it's nowhere. And I thought, oh man, did it do that bad? But I went right. They don't release those numbers, and that's up to them. Hopefully, did well enough. We heard some news today about Cliff Booth maybe getting a movie in theaters, which that's the hope, right? My Frankenstein theater was sold out. Nice. Did you saw April? You saw IMAX, though, right? I think. Maybe I'm wrong, because if it's IMAX, that makes sense, because I just feel like if the movie fans go to see it, they're going to pick IMAX, right? So, and that's where I definitely feel like I had that crowd. For the most part, I had that crowd. The reactions were interesting. There's definitely a few people that I don't think were the film fans, right? No, it's just regular. Okay, that's good. Regular showing. So yeah, mine was about half full. And I think I'd say 75% of the audience was, film buffs, that are going like people that wouldn't have just saw, oh, it's on Netflix a few weeks, I'll wait. But there is some guy to live the right to me, not obnoxiously. It was completely fun, but like you could tell him and his girlfriend probably were enjoying it and felt some of the cliche and cheesiness and were like laughing. And like I said, it wasn't obnoxious. We've all been there. I know what the obnoxious laugh is like. It was fine. And then also when I walked down, unless it was some life thing, but I don't think so. It was after the credits. Someone was crying. Someone was crying while the ending happened. And I was like, wow, okay. So obviously, where was I going to be with Guillermo? I don't have much time to go into it. I love a lot of his stuff, but I feel like he's a director that no matter what, when he does something, I'm going to have a certain level of respect to it and love the craft. But he's not one of my favorites. Like even watching this, I was like, I still haven't seen whatever the hell the last one he did with Cooper, with the circus one, which is on my list now because like, right, I got to get to that, right? But he's, you know. Blade, I loved. I'm trying to think of like the most recent stuff. Hellboys were never really for me. Shape of Water, I really, really enjoyed, but I never went back to. But I think that was great, and I, obviously won Best Picture, and I think that year I was fine with it. Nightmare Alley, thank you, April. Yeah, I haven't gone back. I think I almost checked out when it was supposed to be Leo, and I like Cooper, but I was like, oh, Leo and him would have been great. But he's all, and then like even Crimson Peak, I defend that one a lot more. I think people look at it as like a lower tier in his filmography. I enjoy it. Obviously, Pan's Labyrinth, great, but that's like the most like Godfather. Like that's one of those movies that like if you like it's rare to find someone that doesn't like Pan's Labyrinth. That's almost just like a hipster. Like I love Pan's Labyrinth, which I do, and I have not seen it in at least a decade. So I still got to finish my Paul Thomas Anderson like rewatches, and then next I want to get to Guillermo because I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I've missed, but. I don't think there's anything actively I've seen of his that I thought was, wow, that was awful. I've enjoyed all his stuff. Even the Hellboys, I would go, hey, not my favorite, but very well made, right? So, and his Pinocchio. I fucking loved his Pinocchio a couple of years ago. That was fantastic. I love the take on it. Obviously, everyone knows he's big into the monsters and giving a different side, but I'm just trying to think, let's see. Okay, Crimson Peak, PT, right? He was behind that. Pacific Rim, yeah, see, that wasn't really my bag. He did Pan's Labyrinth after Hellboy. Why did I not think that was the case? When did they come out? Really, for some reason in my mind it's the other way around. Blade 2 I love, so, and some of his other stuff here like Mimic and Kronos I've never seen. So I do gotta check some stuff off, but I guess I've actually seen most of his career, So big fan of his, and you know what? Crimson Peak was very ambitious, but the story was all over the place. I agree with you. I definitely agree that I don't think the story matched. Love the cast, visuals, great, right? And that's something like Del Toro is one of those guys. The second you're in his movie, second you're in the world, you feel it, and that's one thing I'm gonna start there. The set design, my God, I love this. This inspired an idea that I pitched to Taylor and something. Do not want to say it out loud at all. So if I never do it, which I actually don't think we will, this is like a long term, like, man, if we ever had the budget, this is like dream chasing stuff, right? If it doesn't, I'll pitch it one time and tell you what it was. But the set design, the look, the visuals, stunning. Shots, like a smorgasbord of stuff going on right here. And I guess I can just like, I was going to lead up to it, but just because lack of time, I'll just say, I absolutely loved it. I love this movie. I'm sorry to bring her back because I'm hoping Dylan will make that his pick. Right now, Frankenstein's going to be my Golden Geeks, what the other guys have to watch. Because I think one battle is going to be for Kirkland, but even then, I think Dylan's going to see that and Taylor might at some point too, right? But this is my Golden Geeks pick. This, as of right now, but we're only a few months left. But this kind of exceeded expectations. Now, I don't think for me, it is a 10 out of 10. Given my score early, it's a 10 out of 10. not a perfect movie. As I've said before, my scores are a combination of critique, but also just pure enjoyment, right? I think this movie I'm going to watch along. I think this is going to be a movie that for dialogue and also score, I think it's Alexander Desplat that did the score here. This is one that I cannot wait till someone on YouTube to make like the ambience room. Because if not, then I will happily wait for the movie. And I think people are with me when I say this about like the Batman or other things. Of people, if I say, "Oh, it's a movie that I could easily fall asleep to," that's like a compliment. There is a bad way to that, right? But this is like at times, even though there's grotesque stuff and loud stuff, there's like a soothing kind of like trance to it. The visuals help with that. The score helps with that. Let me just see. Composer is yeah, it's Alexander Desplat, who great composer. One of my favorite tracks ever is the obviously it's Snape's tale or Snape and Lily, and that's also the track that Dumbledore. Some I can't remember what it is, but it's when you lose Dumbledore. That's some of my favorite, like on my like list. Listen to all the time. I think too for any negatives, there's just I'd say it is in the third act, and I'm kind of forgetting what my other one was, but I guess it's just a combo of a little bit of pacing and a little bit of it feels a little rushed, which sounds odd because it's a 2.5 hour movie. I think there's some stuff from maybe act two you could have shortened and not necessarily cut. Like there's nothing in here I would want to cut. I want a longer movie. So that's where I guess I would just say go a little longer. It just feels, and I don't want to talk about how the template of the movie, because it's not just an A to B. I'll minor spoil that. It's not just like you start and get to the end. There is a storytelling structure to it. I think with the structure, it just kind of makes the third act feel a little bit on fast forward. It feels like you're re-describing it to someone, or you watch like a YouTube explainer and they show the scenes. It just feels like there's a couple jumps that don't work because of the time, where I feel like the first act and the second act, especially the second act, which I'm fine with, lots of time to breathe, lots of time with these characters. So that's why I'd say some of the pacing and maybe writing of the third act feels a little iffy. So that's why, yes, if I was giving it a critical, it would not be a 10 out of 10. But for my enjoyment, it was because set design, fantastic, scores, fantastic, acting, fantastic. Oscar Isaac is so good, man. Not that he was bad Moon Knight, but I just sit there and go, right. I remember why I said this guy was perfect for Moon Knight, and now he's just kind of getting fucking wasted over there. He's such a talented actor. He's like such like a hot little geeky nerd in this one at times too. Like just some of the outfits they give him, and no, he's fantastic. Goth and Waltz are very, very good. It's not like career best because they're a smaller amount, but there's another, I don't think it's a spoiler to say, like there's some flashbacks of Frankenstein when he's a young boy, and I can't remember. It's the guy that played Tywin Lannister. Funny enough, on our last newscast we talked about him a lot. The relationship with those two is really good. I could even use a little bit more, but the one that's the standout here is Jacob Elordi, because I'm somebody that's on that camp that people like. Some people enjoy it, some people don't. There's many people that look at Euphoria and Saltburn. It's kind of like, trashy, like music video. They don't like them for whatever X reasons, right? And I feel like some people get put in a box, even though you got Sweeney in there and Zendaya that are also great actresses. But I feel like people have kind of put Elordi, I think there's just lots of people, if you say Elordi is a great actor, they might not like huff at it, but they're not get they might not be on the full bandwagon, right? To me, this is a movie that, in my opinion, is going to turn any doubters around. They're going to go, okay, he can, and I already was there. I thought he was a perfect guy for Superman. I think, yeah, he could do Bond. Like, I think he is a versatile actor, because even in Euphoria, for kind of a jock asshole type of role, he brings some layers to, right? In Saltburn, he's very charismatic, right? Like, everyone fell in love with him in this very innocent, very emotional, very just lets himself go a lot, especially in that earlier stage and I think there's a risk element to it. And that's why I will say, I think the people that were laughing didn't like, because I will say at times he plays a child like Frankenstein, right? I think in other actors that can come off as Tropic Thunder cheesy or kind of goofy, right? But for me, it's so innocent, and it is something that I could have, and obviously Andrew Garfield was the choice before. I could see Garfield playing it like this because he is a phenomenal actor. I could believe he does anything, but I think with Lordy it helps his career, and I think there's just certain ways that he did play in that, obviously because it's just Jacob Lordy, could only be for himself. And one thing, physical wise, maybe they would have made Garfield bigger, but with Lordy being such a tall dude, that really helped in these scenes with Frankenstein acting like a child, but then towering over somebody. It really brought something to it. So yeah, April says give him the Oscar. Obviously, you'd have to be in supporting, and like, could I get in the bandwagon? Maybe. Like, I know I'll be fighting for him in Golden Geese. I don't know the win. I have to wait obviously to the end because I just can't think about everybody. But he's up there right now. I think he did a phenomenal job. So he should turn a lot of heads. Like, to me, he's unlocking stuff in a performance wise that clearly is there in him, right? Because he did it. But for us as the audience, being like, oh, there's a whole new layer of things he can do, and I think he just really put himself out there. It's a risky, I'm kind of losing the word. There's another word I was going to describe him as, but he's taken some chances. And for me, they really work. It's a brutal film. It has really good natural humor all the way around. Nothing feels out of the ordinary. Nothing ruins the plot. Kind of what we just talked about in the Itch. Not that it would ruin the plot, but something in the It Welcome Dare where it takes you out of it. I think that is paced really well because obviously the third act gets a little darker and that's fine, but the rest of the movie has a good balance of drama, romance, comedy, all, and like kind of horrific gore, like all the way throughout. Like, I think it works very well. So no, I absolutely loved Frankenstein. Definitely, like, it might sound weird, but I think it might be my favorite Guillermo one. And I think, again, I've seen some critiques of it that I can get. Like, I think there's some people that it's similar to critiques that I feel like Mike Flanagan gets, which we talked about before, where Mike Flanagan will have these monologues and people might call them a little cheesy or a little like just kind of explaining too much, over exposition, a little preachy. And I think that I've seen some critiques about that where, there's not a lot of subtext in here. Like Guillermo really puts in your face. And I guess, like, granted, sure, like I think some of that happens, but I think some of the era and the time helps with that. But I think it still naturally flows, especially when you're with Frankenstein, you're dealing with a man into like a baby into a man in like a regressed rate. So it's like you'd kind of have to explain, or that character would look at things in a very definitive, in your face way, right? Like they haven't even like gotten the idea of subtext or being subtle, right? They haven't earned that. They haven't learned that yet. So I didn't have that. I think if some people want to bring in some pacing, some dialogue, it being a bit too long, I can understand that, but that's the best thing about film, right? It's all subjective. Never felt like it was too long. I felt in the middle there was like a time where it was taking its time, but I was never like, oh, cut this and this. I went, okay, we're definitely, we slow down with the structure. There's times where it just comes to a screeching halt. I won't say in a bad way, but I could see why other people maybe use some of that as a critique. But yeah, loved it. I'll be fighting for this. So yeah, this ranked pretty high. I think I got my top 5, top 4 right now. I need to rewatch Wallace and Gromit because I got them in my top 3. Don't know if I can bump it. There's a lot of heart pick in there, but I did really enjoy it. It's a genuine 10 for me. So I got to rewatch that to find out where it actually is there. So, and then Shelby Oaks, which that's where I can just quickly go with the box office wise. Where was it there? That did like 2 point something. Did I lose all my stuff? Oh my God. I closed the window in there. So we're not doing box office. What was it? Chainsaw Man #1, like 17 and 19. Their anime, which is not even a big one, right? But that does it. Again, proving the audiences. Black Phone had it was like a 60% drop or something. Pretty good. I feel like it's going to be just on par with that first one as far as money wise, like either a little over, a little under, who knows? There's already some C-tier scooper saying 3 is planned. So great. Like, you can go check out our review. I was happy with that one. And I think there's more to explore with that character. And then Shelby Oaks made 2.4. So obviously we don't know about anything, right? With marketing, all that stuff. Obviously it's Neon, so they're not like going out there making massive campaigns. And this is a tough one because we were talking about this in the Discord where for a while some people came in, which I could rant. I'm going to rant on GeekVerse about like people and how they sit at theaters and whatnot. It's just kind of crazy sometimes. If you got a whole theater, there's only 3 of us. Why are you sitting right in front of me? I digress. So for me, made 2.4, production budget of 2.8. That's a win. Obviously, him making that film, this guy's fucking won a bunch of stuff, right? And obviously, it's his first time directing. And here's my context, because we talked about this on After Nine, and I guess because I don't know where to go, because like I got about like 10ish minutes left. Chris Stuckman, if people don't know, he was in the crop of a lot of John Campia, Screen Junkies, Jeremy Johns, the Schmoes, some other people, right? That started big time early on the film criticism on YouTube, started to get Rotten Tomatoes approved, brought to stuff, etc. Right? I had seen a couple of his reviews, but I primarily knew him from the Schmoes No Show and the Me on Schmodown. And I've checked out some of his reviews, but he was never my go-to critic. So that's the thing where I am, of course, happy for this guy because we're trying to do the same thing, right? And luckily, like, same thing, like we didn't raise 1.8 million. We're very happy, but we've said this before, what we make on Patreon with the ads and stuff, like, that paid for most of the budget for Adrenochrome, right? That paid for the camera, lots of props, lots of stuff still came out of our pocket, but we're in that same idea where that's where I'm cheering for this guy, where this guy does a Kickstarter, obviously, very popular, one of the OGs, so gets 1.8 million. That's great. Ties it with Neon, Mike Flanagan, they get him another million. So that's great. He's fucking already won. Whatever you feel with the movie, Mike Flanagan, Neon produced it. And he even said if this didn't happen, he was just going to release it on YouTube one day randomly. So the fact that it's even making 2.4 million is 2.4 more than it would have made on YouTube, I imagine, right? Even with his big audience, I don't know how the YouTube algorithm works that way or the CPMs work when you're to that level, right? But I've seen what they do for even just, successful videos that do 6 figures or 5 figures. You go, man, they take a lot of money YouTube. It's that's why we always appreciate the super chats or extra support, because the actual just money's on view, not much, versus podcasting, you get a lot more. So that's great. And 2.4, 2.8 budget, that's pretty good. The promotion was odd because I didn't get tickets till the Wednesday, like on sale notice, and then we didn't have a Thursday screening. My screening only had 5 people in it. Felt like many people didn't know much about it going on. Like even SBUB said, like he just learned about it the other day. So I don't think they did the greatest job then. Maybe they just felt the tracking their views, because it came out and it was like a 60% on Rotten Tomatoes. And they got a C+ on Cinema Score, which doesn't mean much for horror, because horror is all over the place. We talked about that in the Discord, and yeah, join the Discord. That's below. Like Hereditary, D+. What was the other one too? Oh, there was a big one. I can't remember. There was another film that of note got a C+. So horror and Cinema Score, very tough. So that's the thing where it's like I have no bias when it comes to this, because like I like Chris Stuckman and I've seen a couple of reviews, but he's never my reviewer, and I like and appreciate the journey he's been on, and that's a goal. Like, yeah, he did it, fuck yeah, good for him, but I'm also not gonna be like, now this is a 10 out of 10, right? And there's also some people that are just super jealous of him, and that's where you can read some reviews or reactions where they're just mad this happened, right? Same thing, go out and do it. It's trust me, for the stuff that we've done and we're doing, and we're nowhere near, we're not working with the Neon. Like, when you are making not just even a short film, we're making a film, like our next movie that's like, even the last one we did was 50 minutes. So many problems come up and everything. So good for him, right? Let's see. Jeremy John's review came out as a bit bitter to me. Yeah, and I'm gonna like, I didn't watch that because I'm done with the. I never was a Johns guy, because I kind of found him just, I don't know, even so. He joined Collider for a little bit. He was on that for a year, and I think that's the most I knew of him. Schmodown. I heard of the name of all the time and everything of Jeremy Johns, and he's the one that I've watched the least of, because I always found Johns kind of annoying. And then there's just some stuff he's done the past couple of years where even more so, like, hey, as a critic, don't really like you, and as a person, kind of iffy. And I had heard about that, right? And I think there is a couple people in that sphere that they come off as, you started this, and even if they don't want to make movies, it's still, this guy is being interviewed by this person, this guy has a movie coming out, this guy X, Y, and Z. There's definitely some of that, right? And that's why it's like, it's tough to, I don't know what that review is like, but I've heard it's more negative, tough to take that. And for me, this review or this movie, I enjoyed it. I think that this is something I've heard from other people, and almost like Frankenstein, I think the weakest part is the third act. There is, and I can't say because I've seen a lot of people go, oh, you did a great directing, and but the writing, you should get someone else to write it. There is some stuff in here that is like really good as far as concept. I think the concept's really good. I think for non-spoiler stuff, yeah, the third act, I think the almost similar to Frankenstein. It just Frankenstein to a lesser degree, but this almost feels like it just kind of ends. There's like a huge kind of ramping up of something, and I think the climactic, and I'm saying battle, but it's not even a battle. It's not like a gunfight, swords and sandals. It's just like what you'd imagine in a ghost horror, exorcism, like, and it's not even any of that stuff, but just the whole genre of horror. It's something that you want like something big to happen, right? In my opinion, right? That's how, you know, either you need something big to happen, or that's where you can come to the writing. If it's on a subtle, more smaller degree, it has to really hit home with you. And I think with both things, it didn't. I think the big ending wasn't there, and I think how it ends, you can go, all right, it's kind of messy. And then even the ways if it's not messy, think about it, it just doesn't. It's not that enthralling. And the other thing is, this is not like this is a completely different strokes for different folks. It's how I didn't have this to a huge degree, but there's tons of people I know that with weapons, once it was revealed what the cause was, I think for me, I was like, okay, that was good, but it wasn't like, wow, I love that. Where with Barbarian, I think the reveal what was going on. I think some of the execution later on kind of took me out of it, and even then writing as well too. For me, I'd say like the end point of what the evil was, I didn't love. Like, I didn't love the design. It wasn't. It didn't work for me. I kind of saw it and kind of went, oh, okay. So if you've ever had that where it is the reveal in weapons or a certain monster, you go, this doesn't really do it for me. That was kind of it. That was kind of how, with my weapons, it was like, oh yeah, this, when the reveal of what's going on, that didn't really do it for me. Act 1 is what he's talked about, primarily like a found footage Blair Witch, like old school, this is a ghost hunter thing. That stuff rocks, nails it 100%, and also nails like the true crime type of pacing. There's a couple stuff that feels very movie wise where I go, oh, you could have just changed a few things that would have felt more natural. Same thing, like something happens really big and the person comes home from the hospital and right away they're like, how's the first day at the hospital? You're like, with how the movie sets you up with how like precious this situation would be, this character you'd feel like wouldn't be doing this interview the day of, right? Acting overall is, pretty good. I actually like the main lead quite a bit. I think she did a great job. I don't know what her name is. I don't have time to pick it up, but I think she did a great job. I think he did a couple really good, like, jump scares in general. A lot of like, oh, when you start investigating the mystery, this leads this things that you get a little goosebumps. Go, oh, okay. So I think that there's some concepts and some moments that really worked out well. Like, this made it where Chris Stuckman made an effective horror movie, especially with Act 1, Act 2, and even Act 1, Act 2. I wouldn't be like, oh, this was great, and then the end happened. No, I'd say like, this is some really good stuff to like meh to. I don't think if anything goes into me the bad category. Like, I don't think so. I think there's maybe little stuff like maybe a performance there or one little beat there, but like nothing like this was really, like, is it kind of a at times run the mill horror movie? Sure, but it's also the guy's first time up to bat, right? Like, I'm sure there's things he's gonna feel about, right? There's stuff like even my just 50-minute adrenochrome film I watched now, I go, oh, hate that, and I'll never say what it is. Maybe when we do the commentary track, there's a couple where I go. Like, and there's stuff that I didn't even notice where I'm like, then you watch it back and you just go, oh man. And it's stuff you just can't change, right? Because you've shot it, you've done this, you go, damn, like that's annoying. And that's where now with the other films, I won't say rushed out adrenochrome. Like, we had a date one to get out there, people want to see it. But now with the other stuff, it's like always going to be a lot more. And especially that was a good trial run for us, right? And it's the same thing for this being a trial run and having a budget. I think he did a really good job. I'd like to see him work with Flanagan. It got to the point where his next film, I would go to the theaters and be interested and want to see what it is. But it's also not like hey, when Robert Eggers says something, I gotta see it. When Ari Aster, same thing. When Hereditary, which came out, and Hereditary, I didn't enjoy it as much as I do now. And in Midsommar, I was like, this is a strange, odd movie. Because the style and because the strengths were so high, I was like, no matter what Ari Aster does, I'm going to see. Bo is afraid, and editing, we're getting to a point where soon maybe I might not be on there because like he's still doing some interesting stuff, but I'm just the highs aren't as high, right? So I think he does have some highs in here. I think there's some good creep up moments. I appreciate too. There's a lot of he partnered with Flanagan of the Peripheral. I will say there's one scene in particular that I don't know. I'll have to see on reviews or YouTube videos, but it's one of those where no one else in the theater. There's only like the five of us, but no one else saw it. But there's something, and it's very much. I don't even want to say it is when you see it the first time. It's very much you're not going to see it if you're not looking for it, and it's there. And nothing like it doesn't run at you, it doesn't jump at you, it doesn't chase you, it doesn't turn into a jump scare. It's just there. So much like Flanagan's stuff, where when you watch it back, you're like, "Fuck, there's a ghost, there's that." So I think that vibe of looking for your sister, the home footage, everything like that, the setup, I think is all very well done and very good. I enjoyed it. I think there's some good shots in here too. I think for the most part, there's a couple darkness times where it's like, this could have been, that's a pet peeve of mine. If it's dark, like, please let me see. And I think for the most part there is. I think there's like a prison sequence that isn't, and I think the mystery as it gets unraveled, it works pretty well. Like, I was invested and I liked it, and I thought it was I had a good time in the theaters. I think I would be like a 7 out of 10 out of it. Like, I enjoyed it. I can definitely see some critiques, and that's the same thing. If you watch certain things, if the scares don't get you, and obviously I'm in the theaters, that always helps too, right? But if those certain elements you don't like, then you're going to be less into it, right? Same thing as the way I am with the reveal. And I go, okay, I'm less into that, even though I think some of the build-up's good. Even like, right, there's like kind of two reveals with the reveal, or I'd say the end point. There's multiple. I'd say when we're getting the third act, there is a moment where a character finds something. I got chills right there, rock chills. I really like that. That was really good, because I was like, oh fuck, like what's going on here? And again, I don't think it kind of continues, right? Hereditary, for example, that's like, a fuck, what's going on here? And then that third act goes, you're like, oh man, we're in for a fucking ride. Where the ride kind of, has its big jump a little too early, but I enjoyed it. I'll be there for the next one. To me now, if he does the next one that's kind of lesser than this or whatever, then maybe I wouldn't be there for all of them, right? I'll be okay, I'll see what the concept is, but this was enough where, okay, I would be interested in another Chris Stuckman project. And it was a fun time. I think if you like found footage or those early type of I actually think Taylor's gonna really like aspects of this. I think it's just like all horror genre, right? I can watch a torture porn thing and be like, I know who it's for. Where Kirkland, I can go, oh, it's not for that. I don't think I know people that are active like, I don't like this genre, but I know there's certain people that I think it's going to work better towards others than, for even me, or for others that didn't like it, right? That might kind of forgive it for some stuff. So, and that's where I am. I'm not a big found footage guy. I think I loved this aspect of, it was a mix of the two, which was good, which they kind of dropped. But I think that found footage and the true crime doc nature that we watch, because me and Emily like a lot of that stuff, I think they did well. So my hats are off to Chris Stuckman and the crew, and that was good. It was a good time. I recommend it when it comes on VOD, or go see it in the theaters. Again, as I end this episode, as we're close enough to fucking Warner Brothers in the next few months bought, and we're going to go down from the big five to the big four. Like that's why for me, and even then, Frankenstein and this, it was very hard for me to see because they were on Thursdays. The weekend was busy, and I was out of there like midnight. I did double screenings, but I sat there. And I know this sounds dumb, right? Because it's like little old me, and how much do we make a difference? But it's like, there's almost a time where it's like, you know what? I'm just not going to go. I don't know if I can make it. But I went, one, for some reason in the future, like the Cliff Booth movie, or if Netflix buys WB, I'd like to see these movies in the movie theaters because I just enjoy them more, right? So like, I'm going to see Frankenstein. And same thing with this. It's like, I'm going to go support this little one. So if you have any interest, I think you will enjoy it at least. I don't, when I know people, when I've seen some reviews like, oh, there's so many issues. I don't know. People, I think, are pretty privileged. I think, again, some of that comes down to who's making it, because there are so much, I promise you, just this year, so much more worse movies out there than Shelby Oaks, which is just like a fun, decent horror, found footage thriller at times. So that's the episode for today. I'll be on Side Quest with Dylan later tonight. Or I guess that's tomorrow in the morning feeds. Then I'll be back for news. So Travis told you on Wednesday. That's a TBD. Thank you, everyone live chat. Thank you, everyone tuned in. Thank you, everyone listening after the fact. I hope if I don't hear from you next in the, this sort of sense, everybody has a great Halloween week. And, if you got kids, go trick or treat, go to some parties. If you don't, get some food, get some spoil yourself. Go watch a horror movie and be a kid. Go buy yourself a fucking bag of multi-mixed candies and go do that. So appreciate you. Love you. I promise to hear from you next. It'll not be boring.